Hello, everybody. Tim here with another video. If you're watching live, which I know you aren't because I have 7 subscribers, we just did a video on Rocket Man, and I realized Kaleb Koho has also seen this other movie that I need to review. So let's knock it out and let's make it happen. And he's a fun person to review movies with. So, Kaleb, how you doing?
Good. I'm excited to talk about a middle-of-the-line superhero movie.
Yeah. Okay. So we're talking about Dark Phoenix. I've actually had the not pleasure, of seeing this movie twice. So that's a thing that's happened. I've only seen Rocket Man once, but I've seen Dark Phoenix twice. So the movie's directed by Simon Kinberg. It stars James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, all of your X-Men favorites, and is the Dark Phoenix saga, kind of. It's attempting to be the Dark Phoenix saga, but yeah, it's kind of Simon Kinberg's like redo, because he had some writing to do on X-Men: The Last Stand. He produced the film, and he's been on record saying it's not what he wanted, and so he always wanted to come back to this. Bryan Singer was obviously unavailable to direct this film, so they got Simon Kinberg to do it, which I think was actually an inspired choice. I think it makes sense because he's part of the franchise for so long. And with the impending doom of Fox going to Disney at the time, it just kind of made sense, because it just made sense for the franchise. But overall, my thoughts on the movie, like I said, I've seen it twice. The first time I saw it, I walked out saying that was much better than I expected. Still not great, but I was expecting the worst of the worst based on the other reviews I had heard, and I wound up pleasantly surprised. Now, upon second viewing, I did not feel that as much, and I think the reason is the third act of this movie is surprisingly very good. I think the third act of this movie is really good, with some of the best action in any of the X-Men movies. But the villains are so bad that the first time I was just like, oh, yes, exciting things are happening. I love it. But the second time watching it, I was just so bored waiting for that to come that the rest of the movie just kind of felt blah. Whereas if I had just seen it the once and left with that good feeling of the ending, I think I probably would have liked this movie. I would have had fonder memories of this movie and liked it more.
Fair enough. I think when it comes to the direction, Kinberg does a good job of keeping the same sort of style of the X-Men movies. It doesn't feel vastly different in terms of how it's run, but I think Kinberg knew exactly how he wanted to start this movie and how he wanted to end this movie, and wasn't sure how to connect the dots to get there. So
Sure.
the start of this movie is really strong. It does a lot of really cool things. We actually get to see the X-Men be X-Men. And people not necessarily hate them for being X-Men, which is nice.
That is a cool thing.
I thought that was really an interesting take, and I was like, if the whole movie's like this could be really cool. And then, of course, he throws it away within 30 minutes of creating that premise. And then we go down the rabbit hole of the second act and middle, and that's all boring, and I hate it. And they say the same line 30 different times of the freaking, I can't control it. I don't know how to control it. I don't know what's wrong with me. Some variation of that 40 plus times before we get to the epic train fight at the end, which is really great action. But like you said, if I cared about the villains, that would be an even greater sequence.
Yeah, it's just the movie just feels. I'm going to have to disagree with you where you say that it feels similar to the other X-Men movies. I don't feel that. Watching the movie, I just felt. Again, it didn't feel like I didn't have a negative reaction. I wasn't going, oh my God, this is so weird. What's happening? It just felt like everybody associated with the project knew that it was going to be the last one and just said, okay, we'll do, I guess that looks okay. Does that look okay? Okay, I guess we'll do that. Okay, action. Okay, good job. One take. Lunch, everybody, lunch. And that's just kind of what the whole thing is. Like they just did everything once, and it felt I believe the word Christian Harloff used on Collider Live was hollow or empty or something. That's what
It
it
does.
felt like. It's the perfect description. It feels like nothing, save for, I think Nicholas Hoult gives a very good performance in this movie.
I will agree. Nicholas Hoult does a lot of really cool new things with Beast, and we get to see a different side of that character that we haven't seen before. I think I agree with the Hollow. I think it's a little bit sleepy. It feels like everyone just kind of was resigned. No one wanted to really go 100 on it because there was no point, because they were done. And like it really feels like everyone's like trudging to the finish line. I think McAvoy and Fassbender do what they do best, which is play these two characters. And every time they do it, it's not bad. They're the best Professor X and Magneto, in my opinion. They come in and they come in, they do their thing. It's everyone else. I wish I cared. The thing about this movie is that there's not enough. I hate to say this, X-Men. I don't care about the X-Men. We focus on Sophie Turner and James McAvoy, Nicholas Hoult, and that little circle, and then Cyclops, Quicksilver, all these characters that we should be in love with, that should be really important, get pushed to the sideline. Like, there's not a lot of Quicksilver, and I love Quicksilver.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I think that, again, everybody's saying this, but I think it's true, is that if we had had another movie where we could have built up more connection to those characters, I think we would have been more, like, okay with there not being as much of them in this movie, because we would have either had them in that last movie or gotten enough in this to be like, okay, I still love those characters. I'm getting my Cyclops in this movie, but he's taking a back seat because this is really about Jean. But I got a lot of him in that last one, but we didn't get that. And it's just this more.
This feels like the end of a trilogy that isn't a trilogy. It feels like there's a missing chapter that we don't have.
Well, it's just, I think the perfect word to use too is outlier. It's just an outlier. And in the end, like, everybody's going to look back at this franchise as like as X2, Deadpool, Days of Future Past. And unfortunately, it's kind of suffering where like a lot of these like terrible horror franchises go, where like the first couple are like pretty excellent and then they just start to like drudge off into like horrible territory. Again, I don't think this movie is horrible. I actually think I enjoyed this movie overall more than Apocalypse, and maybe that's because the runtime is 30 minutes shorter than Apocalypse. That movie is ungodly long. This movie is only an hour, and if you take away the credits, it's like an hour and 45 minutes. It's not a very long movie, so it's very digestible in that way, but it's just a nothing movie. I left it and I felt like, yes, that action scene was cool, but it's just like, I'm not going to remember this movie.
I think the biggest difference between this and Apocalypse that I like Dark Phoenix more is the biggest difference is the scale of this movie is much smaller. Than coming off Apocalypse. Apocalypse is very, the world is going to end, and that's a lot. That's been the last few X-Men movies. And when we get this one, it's not necessarily the world is going to end, it's the X-Men are going to end. And I kind of like those stakes. And the stakes would have been a lot better had the villain been better, and I felt any threat at all going through this movie.
Yeah, I guess we can talk about that a little bit. Jessica Chastain is completely wasted, and I would argue this is her worst performance in any movie she's ever given. She's terrible in this movie. The villains in general, this alien species, is just it's a Skrull knockoff. Ty Sheridan did an interview where saying the Skrulls were supposed to be in this movie. I don't know, but
I think this movie, it suffers from coming after Captain Marvel, because I think Captain Marvel takes a lot of the elements that it wanted, like the reshooting the entire third act for the train. I think was an improvement, and it makes the movie better, because what I hear from the original third act, it was going to be space CGI garbage, and I don't think I wanted another X-Men movie that ended in space CGI garbage.
Yeah, sure.
But I think you're right. They had to work with what they had and change things out, and that really does affect the project.
Yeah, it's too bad, because they're ending. I don't think they wanted to end this franchise this way, but you know what I mean, where it's just this is the end of a very long era of X-Men movies, and it's going to be going to the MCU now, which is a cool thing, and I'm excited about that. But at the same time, I wish this movie would have ended on a bit more of a higher note. But unfortunately, it's not the case. This movie's not very good. I plan on seeing it again once it's out on Blu-ray, and just for the fact alone that it is the last X-Men movie, I'm going to give it the same I would give to Deadpool 2, which is a movie that I don't like very much at all. So, or any of the MCU movies I don't like. But it's tough because, again, I love the franchise so much and I love the X-Men so much that it's tough that this wasn't the way I wanted it to be.
It's disappointing that they botched a storyline that is so. I don't want to say easy to adapt, but it is pretty easily adaptable if you just do the story. But they have to keep playing with it and changing it, and they've failed twice. To go out on a second failed attempt with the same writer doing it again in the director's chair, and it's just, I think losing the X-Men this way is really hard. But I think it'll also benefit when they debut in the MCU. People are going to be excited to get a good X-Men product when they come back in 5-6 years when they finally bring the X-Men back.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that's how it works out. I hope that, if they ever try to do this storyline again, which I don't think they will anytime soon, but if they were to make it a 2-movie arc in the same Infinity War Endgame style, you could easily have Dark Phoenix be like a big bad of the MCU. You could easily make that a 2-movie arc, and it would be really, really cool. But that's all a dream. Hopefully it comes true one day. Kaleb, thank you for joining me on another review, this time for Dark Phoenix. Like we said, it's a movie. If you like the X-Men, if you like the X-Men, I implore you to check it out because you might find something there. Like I said, I really like parts of this movie, but just overall, it's just kind of bleh. But it does have a really, really great third act. So if you do like the X-Men, I would still recommend you check it out. But if you haven't liked the last couple X-Men movies, don't waste your time. This isn't going to win you over. But anyway, Kaleb, where can the people find you?
Personally on Twitter and Instagram at Kaleb Koho. That is Kaleb with a K, Koho. YouTube, Kaleb Koho, and Koho Productions. 2 different channels, movies, music, all sorts of fun stuff. And then Multiplex Entertainment is where I basically live now. Fandom Fights, the after show, Your List Sucks. We have a lot of great content over there, so I suggest you subscribe to Multiplex and check it out.
Yep. And as always, guys, you can find me here, Twitter, Letterboxd, all the things at Tim Loves Movies. You know where to find me if you're a subscriber because there's like 7 of you and we all do the things. And but anyway, you can also find me over at Multiplex, answering Kaleb's questions in movie trivia fandom, where I am the team champion with my brother-in-law, Robert, the Hobbit Parker. Nerdgasm is back. Check those out on Saturdays. And like Kaleb said, Your List Sucks. Other things there. There's a lot of great content. Movie Warzone is doing really, really well right now. If you haven't seen any of those Movie Warzone matches, go check those out. Those are doing very well. So thanks as always for watching, guys. Be sure to hit that like button, hit subscribe. Helps me out a great deal if you're a new person. So thanks as always for watching. And until next time, have a good one.